terms of their carbon footprint and net zero objectives up until 2030. So we have a really great panel today. We have Andreas from KCAL, if you want to join us, Andreas. We have Jamil coming from Al Bayader, our sponsor. Dina from IFCO. And also we have Altin coming from Dodo Brands. So the good thing about this panel today is we have manufacturing, we have restaurant operations, central kitchen operations as well. So can we give them a round of applause? Brilliant. So we sat here last year, Jamil, talking about something similar, I guess. Could you give us a little bit of insights on how the sustainability conversation has evolved in the last 12 months?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of developments have happened in the last 12 months, and a lot in this region, in this country, because of the push from the government. And as you're all aware, COP28 happening in a couple of weeks, actually in about 10 days now. So
Brilliant.
it's been on the topic. It's been the hot topic of the year, let's say. One of the great things that we've seen in our industry over the last year as a result is that the conversation streamlined quite well. And what I mean by that is previously in the past 4 years, we were talking a lot about words that were buzzwords, and a lot of customers were trying to get packaging that were biodegradable, compostable, but not really knowing why. It's a word that also resonates with their customers, and some were using it, consciously to make a sustainable, to have a sustainable alternative. But what happened in the last year is now everyone is thinking of it in terms of net zero, and in some cases net positive. And that streamlines the conversation quite well, because a lot of restaurants are quite heavy in terms of
Waste.
carbon
Absolutely.
footprint, and a lot of the carbon footprint comes from the ingredients that they use. And if you're a restaurant, you spend a lot of time and money on the menu, and you market the menu, and it's your identity. So if you're a burger restaurant, you're using a lot of cow meat and a lot of cheese, which are really high in carbon footprint. So it's not really easy to change your menu. But what you can do instead is change your packaging. Have a packaging that's much more that contributes to your net zero. And later on, we'll also talk about operations, and operations can bring that down. So that's where, in terms of packaging, we have been able to help a lot of our customers who are now coming with clear targets. We're trying to achieve net zero, we want to reduce our carbon footprint. And in order to achieve net zero, the number one thing people need to do before even thinking of offsetting is reducing carbon footprint. So we have packaging that can reduce carbon footprint 50 up to 70%. If you use recycled content in your packaging, which is a very simple thing to do nowadays, more or less simple, you can reduce it up to 70%. If you have plant-based content in there, you can also go up to 70%. So it's one of those low-hanging fruits for anyone who wants to achieve that net zero.
Absolutely. I mean, I think talking about targets and what you've mentioned in terms of the different areas, it could be menu engineering, it could be packaging. Now we're in a stage where we are setting KPIs. We're going with, I think some companies call them science-based targets. It's not just about the nice thing of having your compostable straws or biodegradable boxes. It's about actually putting numbers behind our initiative. So when it comes to operations, if I could maybe ask you, Altin, to start with, what's Dodo Brands? You have some orange thing there on your chair, but what's Dodo Brands doing in terms of sustainability initiatives?
Yeah. Thank you for the question and to the invitation to join the panel discussion. Let me tell a little bit more about the company I work at, Dodo Brands. We are international franchising company. We developed around 1,000 pizzerias in more than 14 countries. We exist just 12 years, and we are still young and ambitious. Only 3 years ago, we included sustainable issues in our company strategy. And we understand that we are like any QSR which deliver food to clients left packaging waste. And for us, reducing packaging waste is reducing carbon emission. And what we are doing? we decided to deliver pizza in such reusable plastic polypropylene box which would be returned to us after delivery. And maybe you are asking me, how does it work? Very simple. For example, in Dubai, if you live here, you should order a pizza on our website or in the mobile application Brands and pick a reusable box for delivery. In that time, my colleagues from pizzeria see on their tablet a special icon, special picture that client orders pizza in reusable
You will receive
box.
that.
Yeah. Then our pizza maker put a prepared pizza on a special table on a paper for cutting, then cuts it and put inside with paper this box. Then a courier delivered to a client, and a client should open it and then put on their, I don't know, a table or
or
plate or whatever he or she wants, and returns to courier. And also he has or she has an option to let us know when we can come and take this back. This option works today in 4 countries, in the United Arab Emirates, in Poland, in Slovenia, and we launched small test last week in Russia. I hope next time when you will invite me again, I will tell you more about more countries where we use reusable box. And let me finish on very interesting finding for the Dubai market. When we increase our sales delivery from our website or the mobile application by 30% and a share of orders with reusable box to 30% as well, packaging cost will be more economical than using single cardboard packaging for delivery. And I think this is really sustainable because it reduces waste, influences carbon emission reduction, and saves money.
Okay, great.
you.
I think it would be interesting for those of you operating pizzerias today in the audience, maybe to reach out to Altin later
Thank you.
and get a little bit more specific with the numbers, because I think it's a great initiative. How about you, Andres?
What's going on?
Absolutely. So what are you guys doing in the sustainability side? I know you have a plethora of things that you're working on, but what are your key initiatives?
Well, first of all, I think sustainability is, in most cases and most F&B businesses, it's a marketing tool. People go into doing something, showing it off, blah, 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 but they don't really believe in it. We actually do believe in it. This year, we're going to use just shy of 12 million pieces of individual packaging. I think that's the biggest impact we've had.
Wow.
And if we did not change that, we're still using plastic, obviously that would have a big environmental impact. Besides that, as you said before, it has a cost to it. And the excess cost that we've spent on this year is going to be about 1.25 to 1.3 million extra, besides what we normally spend on plastic. So we switched a couple of years ago, I think it was 4 years ago. And it was quite a headache because part of my business is deliveries.
Absolutely.
And deliveries is always a hassle because of biodegradable packaging doesn't hold as well as plastic. So there was quite a lot of R&D in this, as I explained to the gentleman earlier. We spent a long time trying to get the pulp to hold the food for a longer period of time. Yeah, I think that's the biggest impact we've had. Besides that, good waste management. I think that's very crucial. Unfortunately, in Dubai, most of produce are imported, so it's very hard to have a big impact on that. As you said before, I think that the main thing is definitely to go about how you deliver. But as anything, it also has to be a viable business options for businesses.
Yeah.
You know, if you go into it, you need to find a business model that actually works for the business. So it's you don't drive your business into the ground by doing this. So you know, there's new innovative ways constantly coming and popping up. We started a new business called Spring, which I wanted to vacuum pack everything. Okay. So we actually spent about 7 months trying to figure out how to do vacuum packs that was biodegradable, and finally solve the problem with factory. So it's you know, as you said, it's not a destination, it's a journey. Constantly trying to find ways of exploring how to make things more inviting. And then obviously the positive thing about this is that it's a good marketing tool. And I think most people don't talk about that, but most people actually use sustainability as a marketing tool.
Absolutely.
And well, yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, both marketing-wise and for the environment, of course.
Environmentally.
Besides that, obviously, KCAL is a health food company, so a sustainable lifestyle is also part of it.
Okay. Well, it's great to see that you guys, do the walking as well as the talking. But yes, a lot of people try to shy away from the fact that sustainability is a great marketing tool under the current climate. I think
That's a fact.
sustainability and sort of mental health. We discussed this in one of our sessions before. So you were talking about using millions and millions of packaging elements during the year. Dina, your initiatives are in the manufacturing side of things. What are you guys doing at IFCO? Obviously, IFCO, it's a very sizable enterprise. What are you doing to drive better numbers in terms of sustainability?
Thank you for your question. Thank you everyone for being here and for inviting. So, if you haven't heard IFCO company name, you definitely know the brands. If you go to
most people would. I think most people would in the room. Actually, I would have bought something from you at some point or another.
most probably, yes. You can see our brands everywhere here in the region. So this is London Dairy, ice cream, Albaker flour, Rahma olive oil, and many, many more on the shelves. But we are also a huge B2B company and supplier to many HoReCa brands.
Yeah.
So with my 12 years in sustainability, when they hired me at IFCO 2 years ago, my mission was and is to bring the best global practices. And we are taking a holistic approach. By now, we have completed a full carbon footprint assessments for our whole value chain, not only manufacturing, but upstream and downstream, from the agriculture, from a field down to end of life of a packaging or of a product. So before zooming in to the manufacturing side, I just wanted to say this because with this 12 years of experience in sustainability, I have never seen any food product which has less than 80% of the carbon footprint upstream in the sourcing part of raw materials, agriculture. This is very important to know for everyone who is here in the food sector. So this is the major impact, which is out of your control, but this is absolutely something to be focused at. Coming back to our manufacturing sites, of course, we have to clean the house as well, yeah? Mm-hmm. And what we are doing, we are now focusing first of all on the energy projects. We are running 3 projects together with Siemens in UAE. We are planning to do other energy efficient projects across the region and beyond the region because we operate in more than 50 countries. And it's a global exposure of everything. And the second part is definitely renewable energy. So we have already now more than 10 manufacturing sites in the pipeline of our solar panel installations. By now, we have installed 2 facilities in Pakistan, 1 in Spain, 1 in Italy. We are planning here as well in United Arab Emirates. So, and we have started to focus on the water pillar, starting with the water risk assessment. And now we're building the policy. So these are the major focus areas, but there are many more. But being conscious of time, I just wanted to highlight these 2.
Well, let's let Jamil have a go at the microphone. So what, in terms of manufacturing, if we go a little bit deeper into some of the things you're doing from a sustainability and a strategy perspective, what's happening in Al Bayader just now?
So at Al Bayader, we've been doing packaging for over 30 years. We've been manufacturing the region for about 15, 20 years. And like I mentioned earlier, and like my colleagues here are saying, that a lot of the emissions come from either the sourcing of the food itself for our customers, but a lot also from operations. A lot more than we can that you would imagine, unless you really go into the details, comes from operations. And in operations, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, a lot of things that are really easy to just start on. One of them is solar panels. We have a manufacturing facility in Jebel Ali that's completely covered in solar panels. We have a botanical garden there that has about 300 trees that is offsetting as well some of the carbon emissions that we are producing there. We have a sewage treatment plant that takes in all the sewage of the facility and brings out clean water that goes to plants. And not only is that sustainable, but actually plants do prefer sewage treated water than cleaner water, let's say. Right? So there's a lot of low-hanging fruits there. And when you go back to the carbon accounting, and when people think of net zero or net positive, a lot of people think of offsetting and how am I going to offset? But you're offsetting a credit. So the lower the credit is, the less you need to offset. And so the number one thing we all need to think about is how do we decrease our carbon footprint? And operations is a very, very low-hanging fruit, and there's a lot to be done. So yeah, that's. I just want to focus on how important it is to look through that operations and really, I still am heading sustainability in the company, and like Dina, when we started looking at the carbon accounting, it's really fascinating how easy some of the levers are to move, but just it's never been anyone's KPI before, right? So it's just so many things that you can do that will just naturally decrease your carbon footprint. In some cases they cost, in some cases they don't. So it's about also finding that balance internally.
Well, I think it's a shame we only have 30 minutes for this, but there's something that when we're talking about sustainability, and this is for whoever wants to contribute, we're talking about the material, we're talking about the supply chain. We never really talk a lot about the human side of sustainability. And when I mean human, I mean, what does it take to get your teams on board to drive these initiatives? I know you feel very passionately about this, Andres, which is fantastic, and you
Good
have some
leadership.
stories to share. Investing in human capital. How do you guys view this in terms of driving sustainability from that lens? Maybe we'll start with you, Andres.
Yeah, sure. It's a mindset, right? If you believe as a leader in a path, and you can explain it properly, and the people around you actually see, as you said before, you walk the talk, then people will follow, as any good leadership is. So in KCAL, there are, the same sustainability in humans. We're fortunate enough to serve great food to the staff. That's sustains a good lifestyle. So there are many positive aspects of that. Besides, educating staff. I personally, share books and stuff, not only about carbon footprint, but about how to become a better you, how to have a sustainable mindset.
Absolutely.
Sustainability is not only about carbon footprint. It's economical. It's human. There's a lot of things. Obviously, we're touching on carbon footprint now, but sustainability is a variety of things.
It's a question of behavior. I agree. How about you, ladies in IFCO or Dodo? Would you like to add? Yeah.
Sure. This is a very valid question, because if you don't get an internal buy-in, the journey will be very sad and very slow. So therefore, you really have, especially for the first, even several years, I would say, invest heavily into engagement and into awareness. Yeah. First of all, leadership, then the next level, then all across the organization. Before I tell how we do it, I want just to give 2 examples of the first fruits that we already observed. For instance, one of the group leaders has brought, it's already not like push from the top down or from sustainability, but it's when leaders are coming with their solutions, and we are now deploying one at our Ghana factory, where we are using biomass, which is basically food waste, certified food waste, sustainably sourced. We are now using it for recuperating energy, and it gives us immediate drop in carbon of minimum 70%. So this is an amazing innovative solution that came just from the leaders who were more and more engaged during the last 2 years of this journey. Another great example is also a completely independent project in the company, which I only talk about and I'm not personally contributing, is our plant-based meat project. So this is 100% greenfield investment by IFCO in UAE. We build a manufacturing here, and you can find our brand Thrive. It's quite new, but you can find it in the shops already for plant-based alternative meat. Yeah, so it's based on faba bean, a very regional local bean, and you can try, and there are like 8 SKUs, and it's very a nice step for an individual to start integrating those more sustainable things in your diet.
Into the lifestyle,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But the major things are the very common ones. So the framework where sustainability is only a compass and business is the driver. Therefore, we hold accountable our group business leaders for each of the pillars. One for climate, another for water, the next one for forest, and so on. They are reporting to the board on the progress as business leaders. So this is important. Another one thing is KPIs, of course, as usual. We have integrated already for more than 800 people across the organization, and all the other like governance frameworks that are also key to establish before you start really like accelerating the journey.
Thank you. So it's interesting, almost looking at all the metrics from a sustainability point of view, almost like a sustainability P&L. You know, you add them all up, whether if it's the water, the food waste, energy use, etc., and then you have your net, whatever that may be. In terms of sourcing, how are we in the region, Jamil, in terms of finding the right talent to develop these initiatives? Is this something that you've encountered a little bit of challenges with?
It's a good question, and I'm quite passionate about it. It's a challenge that we're finding not only in the region but globally. You know, again, like I said, sustainability, and now we're talking more into the in terms of ESG. Sorry, has never been really on the minds of businesses and business leaders in the last decade, right? So as a result, a lot of businesses were not thinking about these things, and as a result, we didn't have a lot of talents that were working on these things. So hiring and sourcing talents in this domain is really hard, because you will rarely find someone who has 10 years experience in sustainability. So you need to find the right people who have the right mindset, who first of all live and breathe sustainability and really believe in it, and who have the right skills that you can nurture to later bring on that journey towards sustainability. But there is a very, very short supply of people who are working in sustainability, and there's today a bigger demand than supply, and in the next 5-10 years there will be a much bigger demand than supply.
So should we be retraining? I'll
For
send you
anyone
my
here,
CV.
a career change in sustainability, I think is quite rewarding, both in terms of you're conscious and perhaps financially as well.
Absolutely. Anything from you, Altin?
Well,
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
I'm thinking how to be not so shocked. Let's be honest. To be honest, like I said before, just 3 years ago, we started to think about sustainability, how included in our strategy, and so on, so on. And only 2 people in my company, me and my colleague, are responsible for sustainability. And my CEO, Fedor Ovchinnikov, always told me that your work, it's do something, but you don't do this. Only other colleagues do what you need to do, something like that. Like I said about this one, my colleagues in pizzeria make it, my colleagues in pizzeria delivers to clients. I do nothing, I'm just thinking about it. And my goal is to encourage people to sell the idea that we do something best for society, for people, for customers. We can really change our customer experience, and if it will be so, this product will show that sustainability is what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So before we go into open mic, if anybody has any questions for the panelists, I think we can round up things by firstly thanking you for your time. I think in terms of the journey that we have observed in the last probably 5 years now, now is the time for all of you as business leaders to start setting clear, measurable objectives in regards to your sustainability targets. I think we're now at a stage where, like I was saying before, a compostable straw, it just doesn't cut it, right? We need to get a little bit more scientific behind it. Be innovative, like your Dodo box. Very passionate, like Andres and the KCAL team. And strategic. I think the two elements from you guys, IFCO, and the learnings from Albayader have been very insightful. So we have 3 minutes. I think we have somebody there that would like to ask a question.
Thank you so much. It was an interesting panel, and I'm happy to see that sustainability got a topic in this panel discussion, and a lot of insights. My question is, like, we say packaging, we can do a lot of quick wins. There are also quick wins available on the market that tackles unsold and overstock. That today we know what's happening. There's one destiny, it goes to waste management, and we're looking at how can we do composting, eco-friendly management of that, but we don't look at how can we, what does it take you guys to onboard a food sustainable program that is available in the market, Khalil, to really tackle and reduce your excess food being just wasted. It is a cost loss, it has a huge impact on the environment, and then we're not even touching the societal and the economic impact. So my question is, what does the food industry need to really address the food wastage that is coming from excess food?
Okay, I think I'll pass that on to you, Andres.
If I heard you right, you're talking about food waste management and how you can get, I couldn't hear it properly because there's a lot of echo here.
Yeah.
Preventing food loss, I think in any operations it's very hard to prevent because you have something called yield, and when you produce cook food, you always have some waste, but that all comes down to good management. So in KCAL we're around 0.7. I think the standard F&B is somewhere around 4, and that obviously, first of all, it saves the company money if you manage things right, and secondly, it's good for environment, right? The less you can waste, the less carbon footprint you have. That's not effective as a revenue. I do understand we do have quite a bit of meals that we have surplus, which is usually eaten by our staff or me. And there are food banks here. And it was funny enough, I was talking to a colleague in the office and he suggested this. But then it comes into these food banks where you can actually drop excess food, which is cooked. But I'm not a big fan of that because when you put your brand on something, you don't want people to get sick. And since we're in a country that 6 months of the year is very hot, it's very difficult to control where the food ends up. And it could be quite an impact on your brand if somebody gets sick from food that's not been handled properly.
Brilliant. One last very, very short intervention.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and actually to put into perspective, around 8% of the greenhouse gas emissions emitted every year is food wastage, and to put that into more perspective, only 2% comes from the airline industry, which everyone talks about, and no one really talks about food wastage, so 2% to 8%. We shouldn't underestimate the role of packaging as well. Right. Packaging has played a very important role in keeping food safe and keeping it for a longer period of time. So innovations in packaging as well definitely do contribute to that. So I just wanted to make that point. And there are newer ways now to deal with food waste that are much more green and can help reduce the carbon footprint.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I'm afraid we've run out of time, but thank you for your question. Thank you for your contributions. It's been fantastic.